Welcome back to Rooted in Faith. We're doing day 2 or 3?
3.
Day 3 of Holy Week.
Yeah, day 3.
Day
Wow.
3.
I can't count.
So today's Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday, day 3 of Holy Week.
Yep.
What happened on Tuesday, Nikki?
Wow. There was a lot of stuff that happened. Like, a lot. It was a long day for everyone. So...
She lost it. She couldn't keep it together.
This is serious, though. There was some serious stuff happening. Jesus laid down the law. Like,
So he's already whipped people and drove them out of the temple.
He's beating them down with his words.
Okay, so he's teaching. It's a lot of parables.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into something here.
Okay.
What do you got?
Well, I think probably the most interesting parable. Well, one of them. There were a lot, and if you guys really should read.
Well, let's give them the scriptures.
Yeah.
Where do they read about Tuesday?
So, we've got.
So it's got to be chapter 21, verse 23 through chapter 24, verse 51.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. We're a little bit illiterate today. And then you got Mark 11, chapter 11, verse 27 through chapter 13, verse 37. Luke 20, verse 1 through chapter 21, verse 36.
So there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to read one of these, and we might read some more, but this one is Matthew 21, 23 through 27. And so he's at the temple and he's teaching, and it says, "And when he entered the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came up to him as he was teaching and said, 'By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority?' Jesus answered them, 'I also will ask you one question, and if you tell me the answer, then I also will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, from where did it come? From heaven or from man?' And they discussed it among themselves, saying, 'If we say from heaven, he will say to us, why then did you not believe him? But if we say from man, we are afraid of the crowd, for they all hold that John was a prophet.' So they answered Jesus, 'We do not know.' And he said to them, 'Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things.'"
And the Pharisees were chickens.
Yeah.
Chickens. I did find it interesting that they claimed to hold the authority, and they're accusing Jesus of blasphemy. And the practice was you could stone people for blasphemy, but they were afraid that the crowd would hold their own authority to stone the Pharisees if they claimed that John was not a prophet. Which is neat. That's how high in regard the crowd held John.
Yeah. I think John had a lot of followers.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah.
He was held to be a prophet so highly by the people there that the Pharisees were afraid to say he was not a prophet. Kind of chicken.
Yeah.
They were chickens. Political chickens.
Chickens. Yeah. Well, so there's so much going on this day, and it's amazing. And then the Olivet Discourse.
That is one of the longest sets of scriptures I've read in a long time.
So I'm just trying to find. Oh, so here's the discourse.
Well, that's where we get a lot of parables.
Yeah.
Let's just summarize some of those here.
Yeah.
I'll
it's
just
Matthew
scan through
24.
I keep moving that camera.
Sorry.
Let's see here. Matthew chapter 24, verse 1 through chapter 25, verse 46. That's in the ESV version.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. So This is where Jesus says, "Many will come in his name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. There will be wars and rumors of wars, famines, earthquakes, all sorts of strife." And then, let's see here. So he's telling everybody to be skeptical of anybody claiming to be the Christ or the Messiah. Let's see here. What else we got?
Well, yeah, and then it talks about being his second coming also. So
We got all these papers mixed up.
Yeah.
We were doing a ton of reading before we started. We got them all mixed up. Well, we get the parable of the
10 virgins.
10 virgins. You know, the wedding parable, also with the king who invites everybody to his wedding feast.
Oh, yeah.
And he ends that one with the phrase, "Many are called, but few are chosen."
Yeah, that
one's wild. Let's see, what are the other ones?
So I think that one is really talking about being prepared and with your faith and then showing up, and the guy was unprepared, and they were like, "Well, you can't stay here now."
Well, it was the guy. So first, he invited everybody of the town. People of the town ignored him, so they got wiped out. They got killed, and then he sends his servants to gather all the people from the roads and the outlying areas.
Yeah,
and they came to the feast, but then he's walking around the feast and he sees this guy that does not have a wedding garment on, and he has the guy cast out into outer darkness. So then, many are called, but few are chosen. So that's the idea that if you go to the wedding feast, be prepared.
and then the talents he talks. That's another one that is on the Mountain of Olives.
Yep. So that's the one where the man gives, talents being money in this example. I find it interesting, the talents, he uses the word talents instead of different names that could have been used for money, because I think it's metaphoric to the amount of talents that people have in their own personality and character. People are gifted in many different ways, but how do you use those gifts and multiply them?
Yeah.
But it's the example where he gives different servants different amounts of talents. And, two of them multiply them. One of them hides it and does not multiply it. And let's see here. And that one ends, to those who have more will be given. So definitely a lot of parables here.
Yeah. Well, and then we can tie that back into we had some of the prophecies. So those were super interesting. The one of them, Zechariah, I believe, that one was about, what was
It's
that
right there
about?
at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. So it's the 30 pieces of silver, and the prophecy from Zechariah 11:12-13. Then I said to them, "If it seems good to you, give me my wages. But if not, keep them." And they weighed out as many wages, 30 pieces of silver. Then the Lord said to me, "Throw it to the potter, the lordly price at which I was priced by them." So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw them into the house of the Lord, to the potter.
Which is fascinating. Anybody that knows the story of Judas. And this is when people believe Judas made the deal with the chief priest for the 30 pieces of silver to betray Jesus.
Yeah. And then we've got, where was it? Daniel 7. So, and this is one we talked about when we were talking about the keys and Adam on Diamond and the Son of Man coming. So Daniel 7:13 through 14. And the prophecy is, I saw in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, there came one like a son of man, and he came to the Ancient of Days, and was presented before him. And to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom one that shall not be destroyed.
Yep. So Matthew 24:30, that's where Jesus quotes that prophecy.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't realize, I guess, how much happened on Tuesday. Like,
Yeah, there's
I
a
remember
ton.
he spoke parables, but it just seemed like there's a lot going on this day.
Yep. Yeah, there's one. There is one I just remembered that I want to bring up. Let's
Oh, yeah.
see here. Let's see. Where is it? It was one of the ones with, let's see here. Oh, this is not the one I was thinking of, but this is where the lawyer asks him a question. Teacher, which is the great commandment of the law? And Jesus replies, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and the first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law of the prophets. The one I was thinking of, though, is Matthew. Well, it's in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but Matthew 22, verses 41 through 46. Jesus asks the Pharisees a question. He asks, what do you think about Christ? Whose son is he? The Pharisees reply, the son of David. He says to them, how is it then that David, in the Spirit, calls him Lord, saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. If then David calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day did anyone dare ask him any more questions. I get a kick out of that because that right there is almost the same cadence of people who really don't understand the Trinity. I don't believe in the Trinity because we got all these examples of Jesus talking to the Father.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of Jesus asking the Pharisees, well, whose son is Christ? Well, it's the son of David. Well, then how is it that David calls him Lord? And the Pharisees don't have an answer. And that sounds exactly like when you press people who push the ideology of the Trinity being three personages and one essence, or however it is. It just doesn't make sense. That Jesus is using that same logic. It's like, well, how is it? How could the Father be the Son, or the Son be the Father? It doesn't make sense. And when I read this, it
I think
just
that'd
struck
be
me as very
yeah.
similar. Like, how is it? The Pharisees could think that Christ could be the son of David, but David calls the Messiah, or calls Christ, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same logic.
Yeah.
But I just found that fascinating.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we have?
Well, just some traditions. So I guess mostly there's not really a lot of traditions for Tuesday, but a lot of them talk about teaching the parables The parable of the 10 virgins is a huge one.
I think
So,
that's great. Yeah, I think this is probably some of the most condensed, straight reading of Jesus's teachings. Just studying day 3, Tuesday of Holy Week,
yeah,
as I've done in a long time. It's just a lot of reading, a lot of Jesus quotes, and I think it's
it's
fun.
really cool.
Yeah, I think we get a lot of snippets, a lot of things taken out of context, and a
Yes.
lot of standalone quotes that we hear taken from the Olivet Discourse
Mm-hmm.
or these parables. But however they happened historically, whether they were condensed or spread out, this is just some really, really concentrated teachings of Jesus,
Yeah.
and that's what I liked about it.
Yeah. I've enjoyed going through all of this. I love learning about Holy Week, and I think every time we go through this or some of these passages, like I feel like I learned something new. And Jesus' teachings were, it was pretty tough. Like
Yeah,
he has some pretty hard things he says.
yeah.
So
Reading the full parables, I don't get much of the pacifist hippie Jesus in these passages. So
yeah.
I think everybody ought to read it.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we'll do Wednesday.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
See ya.